Manx Radio Podcasts, powered by Shaw.
Faster Mai and welcome to our weekly Women Today podcast. On the show this week, we learned all about the Isle of Man Arts Council. We talked about self-esteem, got makeup tips from a professional film and special effects artist, and Jo spoke to 4 times Olympic medalist swimmer Rebecca Adlington. But we started the week by paying tribute to one of Britain's funniest ladies, comedian and writer Caroline Aherne, who was sadly lost to cancer at the weekend.
Everybody loves to laugh, don't they? We all love to laugh. Do you think that's helped you in your career as a comedian?
Yeah, because, it's a very simple, because you know that if people are laughing at what you do...
They like it.
And if they're not laughing...
They don't.
They don't like it.
But... now you've got all this newfound wealth, all this money. You've not gone and blown it on a fast sports car like a Porsche, have you? Anything like that. What car do you drive, Steve?
A Porsche.
She also shone in the Fast Show as Paola, the Channel 9 weather girl, coining a brilliant one-word catchphrase that I know, myself and quite a few of my friends still refer to now.
Meteorologicus mit Paola.
Hello. Clásicos de parados meteorology a Valley Portos. Scorchio. Minia cunha anterior. Scorchio. Minia cunha exterior. Scorchio. Monte Blanco. Scorchio. Costa. Scorchio. Meteorologicus mañana. Oh, Scorchio. Bono estente.
Just wonderful. Now, she had, sadly, a well-documented difficult personal life. David Baddiel, in tribute to Caroline on Twitter, described her as vulnerable, complex and damaged. Here she is talking about an attempted overdose in 1998.
Very much. I knew I was badly depressed, and I went to see a faith healer on the Friday before the Sunday where I took all them tablets. And I had been crying for weeks, and everybody knew there was something, but I just couldn't get out of this sort of depression. And then when I did that, took the tablets and everything, I was so drunk, I had no idea. And when the next day I was devastated that I could have done that,
But despite those challenges, she still managed to create one of the best loved and quintessentially British programmes on telly, The Royal Family, which must have been a pretty hard sell to the BBC. It was basically a show about a fairly unappealing family just watching television.
That reminds me, Ma'am. Can little David stay over here on Friday?
Oh, yeah, of course he can. What time till?
Till Monday.
Ricky Tomlinson, co-star in the series, paid tribute to her in the Mirror yesterday, saying, Caroline Ahern's death is the biggest shock in the world. It's knocked me for 6. She was absolutely wonderful and amazing to work for. Kind, funny and witty. I think we would all agree with that in the studio here, wouldn't we? Yeah, Michelle, Were you a fan of Caroline Aherne?
She's a massive fan, actually. She's just naturally funny, I think. And you can tell from listening to all those clips, all those different characters. She's so different, yet the same at the same time, if that makes any sense. And she's just got that natural wit that everyone's smiling when you hear that.
She's just ever so sweet, wasn't she, really? Claire, were you a fan?
I was. I used to really love the Fast shows.
Good girl. So the Scorchio. I used to try and do an impression of it years ago with my friends at university. Bye-bye, baby David. Because she used to say that in The Royal Family. Before, when I popped in to see Stu Peters to say what was on the show, I don't know how many of you heard it, but he was saying that he actually spent some time with Caroline. It was just at the time when she was doing the sister, the nun piece that she used to do. She used to act as a nun. And he was actually batting about ideas for TV shows with her as to what she was going to do in the future, which is quite amazing, really. Well, let's give Caroline Aherne the last word on this. Here she is displaying her brilliantly daring wit as Mrs. Merton with guest Barbara Windsor.
That's what I love about you, Barbara. You're one of us. You are, isn't you, girls? You're like a big film star, but you're still common as muck.
What's it like to be recognised anywhere you go now?
It's strange because sometimes I don't at all, and then other places I really do. I think a lot of people call me Vicky Pendleton because they go, "Hey, you Vicky," because they just associate that we're on the same level, and kind of know our names but don't really know our sports or things like that. So it's quite funny, and I very often get, "Are you who I think I am?" And I'm like, I don't know, because you're not telling me who you think I am. And I'm like, it's such a difficult question to ask. But
do you get in free wherever you go for a swim?
No, not at all, not at all. I tend to just put my head down, and I got an old guy saying to me the other day, he was like, "Oh, you're good. You should join a club." And I was like, "Okay, thanks."
What do you think is your highlight being in Celebrity Get Me Out of Here?
I loved the jungle. It was absolutely amazing. Again, I met the best people. I was so lucky with my year that I had some really, really nice people. But actually, I was just really grateful to do a challenge. I know that sounds stupid, but it was like, I was so bored. It's not the food in there that's the problem, it's the boredom. And it was very, very boring. So I was very grateful when I finally got to do a challenge.
And you got to hang out with Ant and Dec.
Slightly
Slightly jealous.
They're very lovely. They make the show. The show could not survive without Ant and Dec. They are lovely, and they're exactly the same off camera as they are on.
And also the media went overboard possibly on how you felt upset about your body insecurities. What's that like when you watch that back?
It's one of those things that, to be honest, I think every woman, I've never met a woman that says I'm 100% confident with the way I look. So I'd like to meet that person if there is one. I think we all have insecurities, and especially since having my little one, Summer, you just don't think about it as much. We all have stretch marks, cellulite, the rest of it. And I'm very proud that my body has been able to give me a healthy child. So I kind of wear my stretch marks with pride almost, that I've had a healthy, really healthy baby. So yeah, I think it's just one of those things that you kind of have to face. And especially for myself, putting a costume on, it is daunting, especially when still got a bit of baby weight and the rest of it. But at the same time, it's not going to hold me back. I'd rather spend that time with my daughter and see how happy she is in water and get over my own issues and my own kind of insecurities, the fact that she's having the best time in the pool, and I don't ever want to deprive her of that.
And our studio guest today, who is Claire Pierce from Elementile. Now, I have to admit, I first found out about Claire's work because my housemate Maria modelled for the photos of all the jewellery, and bless her, she has been telling me all about Claire's studio for weeks now, and I finally managed to get up to Grenaby a couple of weekends ago, and it is just this little magic fairyland place where, so just explain what happens there, because it's not just yourself up there, Claire, is it?
No, Grenaby Studios is a group of artist studios. We've got a great mixture up there. We've got a wood turner, wood carver, artists, and myself. And it's workspace for us all, but we also open on Fridays and Saturdays, so people can actually come up, meet the artists, see what we do, and have a great chat with us, really.
Lovely. Now, how did you actually first get into making jewellery?
Well, kind of started about coming up 10 years ago now. I'm not a jeweller to begin with. I was actually an accountant after leaving school, and then along came my second child, Adam, and I decided it was time to go with what I wanted to actually do, which was something more artistic. And I didn't want to go back to work full time, so I started dabbling in a little bit of jewellery, and then it kind of grew from there. And then obviously, while we've been able to travel, I've used that time to retrain.
Why jewellery though?
I don't know, if I'm honest. Well, no, I think part of it started with gemstones. My husband's a geologist originally, and so we had lots of interesting stones around the house, and it's always been one of those things I've sort of played with them really and sort of been fascinated, so it kind of was made a natural progression, I think.
Yeah, and you can really see that, sort of, especially the gems we were talking about before. I just want to mention that when you talk about the gems, you do have a strong ethical approach to your work and materials, don't you?
I do. All my silver is recycled and sustainable, all 100% traceable, and my gemstones, I either use certified conflict-free gemstones, or to actually obtaining those is very difficult these days. So I also use lab-created gemstones. So they are the gemstones, but they are same mineral makeup, but they've been actually grown in a laboratory. So you avoid the issues with the dark side of the gemstone world. So
you essentially know where your goods are coming from.
Exactly.
Which is brilliant. Now, is silver difficult to work with? Because I'm conscious that a lot of your designs, they are so, as Michelle said, very intricate and sort of weaving, and they look very fluid, but they're silver.
I think, silver actually is a great material to work with. A lot of my designs, you describe it as flowing, and I suppose a lot of it, I do let the silver flow. I heat it, I let it flow and do its own thing, so I never quite know exactly how it's going to turn out. So I do have an interesting scrap pile to one side, but when it turns out, it's beautiful because you do get the most incredible flow through the pieces.
Can you talk us through the actual process of creating the pieces?
Sometimes I sketch. I don't always sketch. So I sometimes sit with my sketchbook, come up with a design and go from there. But other days I literally just look at what's on my desk and kind of go with the flow. So I put together some silver. Often it starts as silver wire, which I then form a basic shape and heat it, and then add adornments to that once I'm happy with the shape. But things like all my shells and all the little intricate pieces, that starts weeks earlier, because they are actually cast from pieces I've collected out on the beach. If you ever see a family walking along bent over in the middle with plastic bags in their hands, it's probably us, because we're collecting shells and anything interesting that I can then create a mould from and cast. So I start making all the little pieces separately, and then they get added one by one.
The cost of raising children is pretty high. You know, the average cost at birth is, you know, £5,500 a year, and that rises as the children get older. The really interesting thing that we found was that the cost of daughters is higher than the cost of sons, and that's true at every single age range.
But I suppose at the end of the day, boys are still quite expensive, aren't they? Because I'm guessing boys are more into the tech and the digital side of things.
Well, yes, and this is what surprised me, because as you say, boys are generally more into gadgets and tech, and they want their really cool bike. And I've seen research that said that boys tend to get more pocket money than girls. You know, the gender pay gap starts at a very young age. So I thought, well, it has to be that nowadays, particularly, girls are bombarded with images of how really they feel they should look. They think they should look like the girls on Towie or Made in Chelsea or the Kardashians or whatever. So they're out buying goodness knows how much spray tan and getting their eyelashes done. And you know, as you and I know, it's more expensive even for girls, not just women, to get their hair done than it is for boys.
And what sort of age are we supporting our kids to? Because they seem to be hanging around a bit longer now too, don't they?
They certainly do. I mean, again, that's don't want to depress anybody who's just had a child, like Simon here, actually. But according to their research, the average that parents in this country assume they're going to support their children financially is 29.
Wow.
29. I mean, frankly, in London, I think it's going to be a lot more. I was talking to a 31-year-old friend, and he's already been talking to his parents about sort of buying a house together and all this sort of thing. But yeah, I think it's frankly, I think that part is absolutely reasonable.
But this surely is not putting our children, giving them sort of a good grounding for the future, is it, Simon? Because, I mean, if we're supporting them up until that age, you're never really letting them go, letting them sort of become independent.
Yeah, I think there's some truth in that, but it is just the reality, I think, with the cost of housing being quite so high, and, as Jasmine says, particularly in the southeast and, but across the country, it's very hard for children to get onto the housing ladder. And, so I think parental support is required and will increasingly be required as we sort of go forward.
Yeah, and also they're having to pay for university, which that's a relatively recent phenomenon. I don't know about you, but I mean, when I left university, or when I was at university, I was thinking the question really was, which job shall I get, and can I get it in London? Now it's, can I get a job? Even if you're a graduate, it's like, will I be able to? I'll have to do an internship before I can get an actual job. So much more is uncertain for the millennials and the generation after the millennials, including, will there be any sort of state pension when I retire? Will I be able to retire? They're actually asking those questions, which never occurred to me, I have to say, not for years. Speaks the financial expert here,
One really positive thing that actually came through our research was, whilst the cost of having one child is fairly significant, having subsequent children, the additional cost isn't that great. So what we're finding is that that families are sort of recycling things from the first child to subsequent children. So, things like obviously like prams and clothing if you've got two girls, for example. So, really encourage families to do that, and between children, cousins, and between family friends, and that's a great way of sort of keeping the cost down.
And rise of social media helps with that as well, doesn't it? Because there's so many. I know certainly on the Isle of Man, there's a lot of Facebook pages where people share their stuff. So if they don't have kids anymore, they will just offer it out to whoever wants it.
Yes, it's really good. That's one of the great things about the internet. There's so much you can get for free. And as you say, there are Facebook groups which are really useful because they're local. And that's particularly good, I think, as you say, for children, because there are so many people who they've got past that stage and they know what it's like. So they give them away. So I would definitely go for as much as you can for free, including, by the way, here at moneymagpie.com, which I run, we've created a special ebook for parents commissioned by Sainsbury's Bank, and it includes a lot of the findings from the Sainsbury's Bank Family Finance Report. It's quite interesting. But we've got loads and loads of tips on how to save money and even make money as a family. I say turn your children into profit centres, not just cost centres. moneymagpie.com, it's on the homepage, and you can just download it totally for free. It's about sort of 26 pages, something like that. There's lots of information there.
You are listening to Women Today. It's just coming up to 20 minutes to 3. And our studio guest today is makeup artist Kimberly Berridge. It's lovely to have you with us, Kimberly. We've been talking a lot about makeup and self-esteem and how important or unimportant it is to wear makeup. Do you ever go out naked as such without makeup?
I wear clothes all the time.
Good.
But, yeah, I do sometimes go out without makeup. Not that often, I have to admit, but I do it, especially if I have to travel or something. I'm going on a plane, I'm going to be on it for 4 or 5 hours. I just don't want it on my face. So, yeah.
You can feel it sort of clogging up the pores sometimes, can't you?
Yeah.
Because there is a thing, isn't there? I think most women would find it difficult to go out too often without makeup on. We've all got something we like to wear. Like I always have to wear mascara because I just don't like having ginger eyelashes. I'm sorry. So I always wear mascara. Is there one item in your makeup bag that you are never without?
Well, yes, but it's not something you can see really. It's primer potion, eyeshadow primer potion from Urban Decay. And
What does that do?
Well, I love a bit of eyeshadow. So when you put it on your eyes and it makes the eyeshadow stay longer, it stops it from creasing, it makes the colour more vibrant. It's just a win-win product really, and it's really smooth to go on, and your eyeshadow just stays on.
It's interesting because I never trust products like that, but it does actually work then, does it?
It does exactly what it says, yeah.
Someone said to me once that in order to keep your makeup looking pristine, use hairspray. Does that work?
You don't need to do that. It's not 1987. You can buy fixed sprays now.
Sorry, I need to get with the program.
Yeah. I thought that was still a goer as well, so clearly behind.
We are a bit behind the times. Why don't more men wear makeup?
I think you'd be surprised how many do, actually.
Oh, if you're a man wearing makeup now, tell us.
I've done makeup for a few men. A couple of them have been trans women, but I've covered up a couple of spots, covered up some under eye bags and things like that.
Because why wouldn't you at the end of the day? We do it for the reason that we want to, sort of, I don't know, look a bit healthier or whatever. So why can't men do the same thing?
Draw on a fake moustache. We do fake eyebrows. So.
But was that for like photo shoots or anything, or just everyday life?
Photo shoots, not everyday life.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
they could, in theory, go out. There must be male products by now, I'm sure, male makeup products.
There is, yeah. I'm pretty sure. I think NARS does male makeup. Clarins, well, they do a lot of skincare for men anyway, so
yeah. So and we mentioned the whole eyebrows thing, but earlier we were talking about women feeling the need to look very made up, and sometimes for young women to look older. We talked about some of these trends like the very thick eyebrows. There's also the barely there lips. There's these extreme super tans. What is the latest hottest craze in makeup then? Is there one?
Well, funnily enough, something that's coming around that's being pushed by, is it Gigi Hadid?
I have no idea, but I'm sure you're right.
It's something called non-touring. So you've heard of this contouring, and everybody's putting stripes down their faces and dots, and they're blending it in, which is actually a drag technique.
Yeah.
Something that also came in was baking, which is another drag technique. So your makeup can be seen from far away and on stage. But it's, there's milder versions people are wearing day to day. Sometimes it looks good, sometimes not so much. So something now, I think that's trying to fight this contouring thing, because in the makeup world, it's a bit of a joke, this contour now. It's non-touring, so it's more just to look like you're not wearing makeup. So you look just flawless and fresh and clean. That's something that you're going to see more of, I think, over the next few months.
Rather than just not wearing makeup.
Well, you could not wear makeup, yeah.
Probably be a slightly better idea. But yeah, so I mean, makeup obviously clearly very important. Does it really matter though how much money you spend? Because I have seen the most ridiculous prices of makeup recently. I mean, even lipsticks in your general shop can be 20 quid, can't they? Just crackers. But I looked up some prices, I have to tell you these. So you can get golden diamond false eyelashes now that cost £1,000. Essie released a nail polish which is called I Do Nail Polish. It has pure platinum in it, and it's $55,000 to buy it. And Guerlain have released a diamond-studded lipstick, which is $62,000. Is there any point, seriously?
You can go on holiday. You can go traveling forever with that kind of money.
That would keep me for several years, that. Yeah. It's bonkers, but is it worth spending a little bit of extra money on makeup?
Sometimes it is, I have to be honest. Sometimes it does make a difference. You don't have to spend the high end. There is a middle ground, and you have to try it on your own skin, because what'll work on your face wouldn't work on my face. You know, it's trial and error. I think trial and error.
So is there like one product that you can think of that, you know what, if you're going to spend a bit of extra money on something, make it that?
Foundation, I think.
Yeah.
I don't often wear foundation, but I think if you do want to wear it yourself, if you spend a little bit of money, it'll sit better, it'll melt better into the skin, it'll look a bit more natural. But if you're not spending much money on it, sometimes it can sit on the skin, or it'll move around, or it just will bobble and stuff. It just doesn't look as nice as it does. If you're going to spend money, spend it on that, and also it's on your skin, and you don't want to be putting too much rubbish on your actual biggest organ of your body either. Do you want to look after your skin? So yeah, foundation, I think.
Now, we just had a message in from David, actually. We're talking about makeup quite a lot. He wants to know what you feel about facelifts. Which is an interesting one.
I think if you want a facelift and it's going to make you feel better, and then why not? I'm neither here nor there on that, to be honest with you. I don't think it's up to the individual. If they want to have a facelift, have a facelift.
And that's a very good point. Now, you are extremely creative with what you do. Some of your makeup, I love the fluorescent stuff that you do. I've always been a massive fan of that. And you also did this beautiful design on May Chalice for when she was performing with John Newman. Yeah. Where do you get your ideas from?
It can be anything, really. Maybe it sounds really silly. I've got, a Pinterest page. I'll pin pictures of tropical fish. They have some amazing colourings. Maybe pictures of flowers and trees. I take inspiration from other artists as well. We all do. But I try not to look too much at that, because I don't want to be influenced. I want to have my own style. So I'll take it from anything, or I'll just experiment and something will happen on my face. And I like the picture I did the other day. That was just me trying out some colours, and suddenly I had a work of art on.
Yeah, it did genuinely look like a work of art.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
And also this afternoon, we are going to be finding out about the Arts Council, because they're recruiting for new members this month. And to tell us what the Arts Council does, how it works, who they're looking for, we are joined by the Arts Council's Arts Development Manager, Emma Callan. Welcome. Fresh from her success, I should say, as the Vicar of Dibley.
Of course. Shared success. Shared.
I've got the Vicar of Dibley and Alice beside me. This is amazing. I feel like I'm back in the theatre.
I'm going to have to try very hard
not to be stupid. Yeah.
I expect a joke before the end of the show, you two.
Right. I'm just going to add some more questions now, Emma. Thanks for that. But just tell me a little bit about your job, because yours is an actual paid position, isn't it? What is it you actually do?
Yeah, I'm a civil servant, and I work in the Department of Education and Children. I've been in this post, Arts Development Manager, for 9 years now, and it's a great job. I really enjoy it. Lots of interaction with the arts community, and we have a huge arts community. Of all disciplines of the arts, and it's only growing, I have to say, and we're now looking at the professional creative industries and how that's taking shape on the Isle of Man. But I work for the Arts Council. I support the things that they would like to do and their initiatives, and I also help them in their meetings when we're considering funding for individuals and groups and venues and events. And on the government side of things, I also look at arts development activities for the Department of Education, and at the moment we're looking at how arts is delivered across that department, fabulously, I have to say, but in many, many facets. So we're looking at what we do, and I do a lot of work on that side as well.
It's really interesting and encouraging that you say that the arts is growing in the Isle of Man, because it tends to be the first thing that suffers when the economic climate isn't so good, which it still isn't at the moment. But that isn't your experience.
No, we've been very lucky on the Isle of Man. I've watched my counterparts in the UK go through really tough times since 2008. They've had to get smarter about how the arts are used in public life, and they are used. I think people who work in the creative industries and the arts know this anyway. But now we have to really fight for it. And we use arts in a variety of ways very effectively in health and education, but also some other ways in crime prevention and with young offenders. Creative activities are a hugely successful way of helping people rehabilitate or communicate. And we do a lot of that on the Isle of Man as well. We've been in a more fortunate position financially, and we have got a great situation with the Arts Council. So yeah, it's growing. We've always had, I think, a very large artistic community, but perhaps we just take it for granted because that's part of our culture and that's what we grow up with. But now it's easy to see this large cultural community taking on the world.
And I'm referred to Vicar of Dibley. You clearly are quite theatrical yourself.
I am.
Your husband also into the arts. You have 2 children. Are they showing signs of being budding thespians?
Unfortunately, we have a small drama queen at home, yes, that we live with.
Not talking about Neil, obviously.
No, not Neil. Daniel's a bit young. We don't know about Daniel yet, although he does like to kick a ball around a lot, so perhaps he might go the other way. But yet, Amber goes to the Christine Wilde Theatre School, was in her first show just before Christmas.
And you did that as well, didn't you? That's the sort of path you took.
Yeah, I went to Christine's from the age of 7 through to 18, and that was a huge part of my life and really put me on the path towards my career, really. I have a lot to thank Christine for. It's still a great school for those who are interested in dance and performance.
I have to say I was a member of Christine Wilde's as well, but I'd started quite a time after Emma had started. And Emma and Jane and this group of girls, I remember looking up to them all and going, oh, they're really amazing. One day I want to be like them.
Oh, one day, Christy, you will be.
But you know what? If we could find that wig from Dibley, maybe you could have that. And then, it's a step along the way.
I can practice, yeah.
Yeah. Emma, thank you so much for being with us. And as I say, we will be fine.
We do often have stories on the show about our response to the endlessly unrealistic beauty and image pressures that we face, both men and women. Now, I have to say, personally, it does make me quite sad, actually, that it does remain an issue, and we do feel the need to cover this so often on the show. But it seems like we still have a long way to go before either gender doesn't feel that pressure or judgment or criticism, whether from the media or our peers or ourselves. Thankfully, there are some key individuals and organisations who have a fairly loud voice who are trying to help us combat this image obsession. Dove, who are rather ironically a beauty products line, is actually one of them. They've just released the Dove Global Beauty and Confidence Report, which interviewed almost 11,000 females across 13 countries and found that women's confidence in their bodies is on a steady decline, regardless of age or geography. Now, some of the stats from the survey for you. British women have almost the lowest self-esteem in the world, with only 20% feeling confident about their bodies. 60% surveyed said they feel the need to meet certain beauty standards, which I'm assuming are those unattainable ones, and yet 77% believe it's important to be your own person. So are we fighting a losing battle with ourselves here? How can we be confident enough to be our own person if we don't like ourselves? Michelle, what do you make of this one?
I think that I would blame the media for a lot of it, as commonly it is done. I think it's interesting, that stat that for British people, only 60% believe that they need to meet British beauty standards. I think that's quite a Western view, really. So I don't think that statistic can be taken as a whole worldwide view, because I think we are subliminally encouraged to look at these media campaigns and engage with them and take them as the norm. So I think it's actually really difficult to distance yourself from that and think that that's not what you should be trying to achieve. And that's where I think the confusing element inside what we should be trying to aim for happens, really.
Yeah, because really what the ideal would be is that we all become so empowered and so confident in ourselves, no matter what we look like, that we can just walk past these billboards and magazines and photoshopped images and just go, oh, it doesn't matter, I don't have to be like that.
I think for the media to have to put these campaigns out, though, there must be something within us to allow us to subconsciously engage with them.
For it.
Yeah, so perhaps even if the media campaigns weren't there and there wasn't a reason to have them, would we still be the same as we are currently.
And it's interesting, I was chatting to someone about this yesterday actually, about how I think it is astonishing how hard we are on ourselves. We criticise ourselves so readily. We're forever sort of talking down to ourselves in terms that I would say you would never say to someone you loved or cared about, sort of, oh, I hate this about myself, or I hate that about myself. Kimberly, obviously you work in the beauty industry, you work with people, sort of empowering them with different makeups and, sort of all that sort of line. Do you find that this is an issue for a lot of people that you meet?
Sometimes you'll find that the younger girls, if you're doing a photo shoot, you'll have some girls who are under 20, for instance, they'll be the hardest on themselves. They'll apologise for silly things like, oh, sorry about the size of my nose. And you think, oh, where does that even come from? Your nose is fine. And they don't want to listen to you because they've got it in their head that the nose is, for instance, their nose is big. But I think the media is very confusing for everybody, because say you were to buy a magazine, on the front there'll be a picture of the most beautiful airbrushed woman, and it'll say, how to diet, and then the next article will be love yourself, and then there'll be an article on someone curvy, then there'll be pictures of celebrities and they'll be body shaming them, and you just don't know what you're supposed to feel like. Are you supposed to be ashamed of yourself if you're not cookie cutter? Or are you supposed to love yourself? We don't know. We're getting so confused. We're getting so many mixed messages. So it's a minefield. It really is. And I worry for the younger generation, because there's just so much of it. There's Snapchat, there's Instagram and stuff, and everyone's so filtered heavily that everybody does look perfect. But if you look at yourself in the mirror, you don't quite look as perfect as the person on Snapchat. So it is a minefield, and it's terrifying.
It's true. I think I do know several young people who wouldn't dream of uploading any photos of themselves without a filter on them, which is kind of scary, really.
Quite insecure when you're young anyway, and to be constantly compared, and everybody's saying how beautiful this person is on TV, and aren't they a goddess? And you think, well, I'm pretty normal. Am I supposed to look like that?
And now our studio guest, Chris Kiswick, is going to tell you why you should be competing in Tough Man this year, which is taking place, Chris, on August the 6th. For people who haven't heard of it, I mean, I'm going to be honest, the name's a wee bit off-putting.
But it's two ends.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's...
Does that make it less tough?
No, it's even tougher, because it's a Manx event, so it's even tougher.
Yeah, see, I think I'd quite like, not so tough, it'll be okay, man.
No?
Too long. The name's too long.
So what exactly is it then?
It's an adventure challenge. So it takes place across 10k of glorious Manx countryside, some amazing views, and in case the views don't entice you that much, we've got 25 amazing obstacles for you to overcome.
I love the fact he's describing like this. Brilliant.
25 obstacles to overcome before you get to the finish line. It's a fantastic event. We're in our 4th year, and some of the obstacles, we have things like the Beast, which is a 3 metre high solid wood wall for you to climb over. We have monkey bars over the ice bath. So we bring in 6 tons of ice. So if you don't want to get wet, you don't want to dip into the ice, you've got to make it across the monkey bars. We have a 6 metre high cargo net, which we introduced last year. So that's coming back this year as well. And we have the spa.
Oh,
there's a spa.
That sounds nice.
Yes, so we call it the spa, but a lot of people that take part tend to refer that as the mud pits.
Good for the skin. Probably quite difficult to crawl through.
I'd keep your mouth closed. It is a working farm, but so the mud pits are there, and some of the comments we had from people taking part last year, they wanted it muddier, so we've obliged.
Did they really? Did they?
They certainly did. Yeah.
Because I'm sensing there's an element of evil coming out here. We're going to make it as bad as possible.
But I think the thing with events like this, it must be such a tremendous sense of achievement when you've done it, and you must be so proud of yourself. I'm building it up here for you, Christy, because there is a member of the Women's Day team who is taking on this challenge, and she is with us on the phone. Michelle Jameson, why are you doing it?
Hi.
You are doing Tough Man, Michelle. Well done for you.
I signed up yesterday. It's too late now.
It is far too late. But, you have some questions about sort of how you should be preparing for this event.
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, first of all, I'm doing it with 2 fully grown men. I'm quite a giddy 18-year-old, and I feel like that might be a stupid idea. What do you think?
I think that's great. I mean, as I said, the part of the course we have the Beast, and you're going to need those guys to help you over. Not just that obstacle, but there's going to be obstacles. So I'd stick close to them. The fact that you're taking part as a team, the teams that take part in Tough Man, you all have to finish within a minute of each other. So of those,
so they can't just run off then?
No, definitely not.
You can't leave them behind, Michelle.
Is it okay for her to be attached to them, like on their back, for example?
It may make things tricky through the mud pits.
Okay.
But we've not seen that yet. We've not seen anybody on anybody's shoulders, but it could be a first.
That is a great idea.
Well, that you come to me for your training tips, Michelle, okay?
Thanks for listening to our best bits of the week. If you missed any of last week's programmes and would like to hear them in full, you can listen on demand at manxradio.com for 7 days after broadcast. And you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at MR Women Today.
Don't sit in the slow lane. Join the fast lane right now with Shaw's all-new Superfast Plus broadband. Enjoy more bandwidth, amazing speeds and the best value on the island from just £23.95 per month. So don't be left behind. Get a piece of the high-speed action with Superfast Plus broadband from Shaw. For details, visit our stores in Douglas, Ramsey and Port Erin or click shaw.com. Love being Shaw. Terms and conditions apply.